Welcome back to our podcast, AI Searched, where we talk about machine learning and artificial intelligence in every single sector. I'm so excited to have Buga Marija Šimić here today. She is the artistic director of Mala Scena Theater in Zagreb, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her organization and how creativity plays with AI. Hey Buga, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, tell me a little bit about Mala Scena and what you do. I know you're doing a lot of research with children development and how that relates to theater.
Yeah, so we are specialized in performances for babies under 3 years old and for teenagers, so over 10 to 12. We do also performances for children between 3 and 10, but these are the areas that are most interesting to me. So yeah, I do a lot of psychology research as well, and we, but the shows for babies of like 3 months, that's the most interesting part. That's like really, really cool.
It's incredible. How do you see the development and reaction of the children at that age group? Because they're so different. I mean, some children are within 1 month. I mean, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that were just born recently, and some feel like they're, 6 months old when they're born, and some feel like -3 months, That's such a big age range at that point.
Yeah, I mean, every single performance is different. One of my performances I did over 200 times, and people ask me, like, aren't you bored? And you can't be bored because every performance is different. And you really have to have, like I say, you have to have antennas to really feel them and sense the energy of the group and every individual. So yeah, it's very, very interesting and always exciting and a bit scary. But they always react really, really well. In like 95% of the time, they're very curious, and when you learn how to interact with them and how to approach them through art, then they're like so open for it, and it's always exciting.
How do you feel, because the theater has been open for such a long time now, how do you feel like children who have grown up watching your shows and maybe now are, teenagers or even adults, how do they feel about the programs that they were offered as children?
Well, I love that now we have parents bringing their children and they started in our theater.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that's like like 2 or 3 generations are coming to our theater, which is a really big privilege for us, and I'm really honored by that always. But I'm always very proud and honored when I realize that we are parts of someone's memories. They say, we played with the cassettes of your shows, and I still keep a memorabilia from the show on my wall, or I shared with my children. We remember when, we came to your theater, and then afterwards we would play with parents. And so we are kind of, part of family memories. And that's such a big deal.
That's a huge moment.
Yeah, and it's always it warms my heart, and everybody's always so happy when they talk about it, that it's so important.
Yeah,
and
it's of course better than watching a TV or something. It's going to stay with you forever.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
Memory.
Yeah.
How do you feel about now? Recently, I grew up with the computer my entire life, so maybe not the best focus group, but I'm sure the children these days, the teenagers that you're performing for, they're on their cell phones since they were babies, like iPad generation. Yeah. How do you feel the perception is when they're watching your show? Are they kind of nervous and jittery, or are they able to really let go of the technology and just focus on the room? And is there some sort of transition period?
It really, really depends. Babies, there's, even if they have like tech around them, they're still very perceptive and they're really curious about the real world. With teenagers, you really have to get them, and you really have to talk to them before. And I tell them very openly, if you open your phone during the performance in the darkness, for us on the stage, it looks like a ghost. Yeah. It's like a horror show. So please don't do that to us. And if you approach them in that way, then they're like, yeah, we won't do it. It's fine. They really understand that if you approach it, like one human being to another, not like, scolding them or something, just telling them, look, it's really problematic for us. Yeah. Sometimes I think the bigger problem is the parents who are very worried when babies are jittery, which we are very fine with. We tell them, it's okay if a baby walks. It's fine. That's normal development stage. But they're kind of embarrassed that the babies, are fussy or they want to walk. So they give them even phones during the performance, like to watch cartoons. And I'm like, nah, don't do that,
this
please.
Is the opposite of what
are you trying to do? Yeah. So it's even, I would say that it's more adults right now who are like, checking the clock or just checking. We have this, kind of a habit of just checking the things. Yeah. But so
Yeah.
what we did is that in every introduction of the show, we say, please turn off your phones. Don't put them on airplane mode. Just
Yeah,
turn them
turn
off.
yeah.
Use this like 40 minutes to be with your child, to be part of this activity.
Yeah.
And if we really say it openly, then most of the time, like people are okay with that.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. Yeah.
But I want to, I had an anecdote. We have a performance where there's a cello in the performance, and afterwards, children can come and play. And often babies, we show them they can pull the string, but often they will try to touch it like a button. It's really fun. We try to have to explain to them, like, no, it's not a button. You have to actually pull the string, and they're like trying to push the button, and it doesn't work. So that's
like,
those things are interesting.
Yeah, I think just before, when you're saying you're gonna call someone, it's like this, and now it's like this, or there's just so many changes in our human behavior in the last 30 years. I think that's insane.
Yeah, so that's interesting to see.
This is normal. Well, maybe there will be touchscreen cellos one
Yeah,
day.
maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. How do you see, I know you're not a huge fan of artificial intelligence. That's why I called you on the podcast, because I'm really excited to hear this different view, since we talked to a lot of tech people who are like, AI is the world, it's taking over, this is great, they love it, Do you see like one day technology entering your theater and being able to use it? I did a lot of research in my university. I studied dance, and we had a huge film studio that was completely green screen with a green screen Marley floor. So we did a lot of multimedia dance research, and wearing these suits and everything.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago, and I felt like that was a very cool experience. I don't use that in my life today, maybe, but maybe one day I will have the opportunity. But these are like expensive sets that are hard to get access to. But do you think that maybe in the future, kind of with this technology progressing, that you'll be able to implement AI or tech into a theater show?
I will fight against it with all my might as long as I can. Because theater for me is the last resort, is the last art that nurtures direct communication between two people, between human beings. There is I'm super against, we want to modernize theater, so we bring in technology and projectors and blah, blah. But for me, that's the magic of theater, that it's still analog.
Okay.
I don't believe that we need the tech. I think that theater nowadays is the only thing that's keeping what's human about us. And that it's the safeguard of that, physical touch, of physical word to word without enhancements. That's why I love opera. There's no microphone. There's just my breath to you. And so that's why I think it's important. Because we have AI everywhere, and that's fine, and I'm okay. I mean, that's okay. That's the word. I love my phone. I need my phone. I use it all the time. But I think we still need something that will keep that space safe, where we're just human, just us, without any help. So that's why I fight for analog theater, and that's why I believe that theater is the last resort of analog life.
Of course, it's so true. I think 12 hours a day we are using machine learning, even though we don't know about it. Just opening Instagram, or actually just going to a grocery store, or paying with your bank card, we're creating data for these models. Like any picture you post, I love those on your story, when you can put like a picture of you as a child, and not a lot of people know that, but that's literally feeding into a model that teaches AI how to plan our aging, like what we will look like, because they have thousands or millions of people submitting photos. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of scary, but for me, what's more was, because I learned a lot about children development, is, children are not learning how to chew. And chewing creates brain networks. So also, learning about our emotions and how to recognize them, the subtle body language, that it's not emoji, I'm happy or I'm sad, but subtle body language that is part of the human experience, touch, sensoric stuff, all of that needs to be learned in real life. Screens are great, but those things, how to empathize with someone on the screen, you don't learn that, So that's why I think we still need live theater to teach us humanity.
Of course, and I think that's why it's so important to study both, especially for a lot of tech people who are very closed in their box of tech, to open to psychology, because I think it's a really valid study.
And I think a lot of people nowadays in theater use AI to write scripts and stuff like that, but no matter how much AI learns about us, you can never teach AI to tell you a story like a child does. I do all of our shows from my interactions with children. and I can write to AI, write me a show for children about whatever, but I take lines and everything from what children tell me.
Yeah.
So to create a show with AI instead of creating it with a human being is creating a show for AI.
Yeah.
So that's also why I hope we'll never get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these models will progress to the point where they will be able to be relatable to a group of, young people, because actually we're feeding into it. But I think at the same time, how can you be authentic? How can you call that script yours if you're not building
And not only
it?
that, but you're also building yourself in writing. I want to try to write. I want to make the mistakes in writing and see how that relates to another human being instead of having a perfect script that I didn't hone my skills into it. If AI is going to learn all the skills for us, then we're going to become useless. Which I don't want us to be.
I don't think we will, but I think people who are willing to learn and grow and just be present in the world will always find some purpose. But I think that's true. Do you feel like I know you do everything by hand, which is incredible since you guys are a small theater. Yeah. There are so many applications, EU funds, and things that you apply for. I think a lot of companies, especially IT companies, kind of shortcut that and they write these EU fund applications that are very, very lengthy, using the help of AI. Maybe the final product is something, of course, a human looked over. Do you, I love that you do it by hand because I think that's so authentic, and I hope that you're able to win those, funding because I
mean, for us, I can't write the application with AI because I have to write into AI what is my head and then it's already done.
Yeah.
I can't, because I direct the show in my head, so I have to explain the show.
Yes. Yeah,
so I cannot use AI because it cannot explain what's in my head.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah,
maybe one day I can show the pictures that I have in my head, but explaining, we have for culture we have to explain the content of the show, the impact of the show, what's it about, how we're gonna use sensoric blah blah, and I have to write that.
Yeah, of course.
My idea is in my head. I can if I write the script for AI for it to write it, then I might have just might do it myself. Yeah.
So I think we're not I think that the models aren't here yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think there's one person in the world who got the chip installed in his brain.
Yeah,
and that could be very interesting. I would never want that for myself, but it could be very interesting if he could think of a show or image or script and that writes it for him. But I think that's like more brain replacement. I hope in my lifetime I die before that happens.
And also what I love about theater and our work is that things are born in the process. So I come with an idea for a show, and then together with the actors, or as an actress, I come with the director, and then we try stuff. Does this work, or does it? And that's the beauty of it. That's the joy of it. The process of trying, and and if I just give it to AI to write, then I don't do anything. I'm not an artist. I just copy what it's. I don't. I'm not a part of the process, which is the most beautiful part. And because I can change it then in the performances, I can, tweak them and see what children respond to and what they don't respond to. So that's...
Yeah, it's a live production.
It's a live material. It's living,
Do you think that students or young, I mean, okay, the 3-month-olds probably not, but these high school students, do you think that in the future it's going to change? Because education is kind of getting more screen-based, especially from COVID, everything was on a laptop, and I feel like that's continuing, unfortunately. There's not a lot of hands-on experience, especially here. Do you think it's going to change how their creativity? Would you think it's going to diminish creativity, or it's going to, make a gap? There's going to be a lot of extremely creative people who are going against the system, and a lot of people who are just kind of copy-paste and
it's the easy way out. You can write to AI, make me a picture with these elements, and it does an incredible job. But I think I think we're kind of missing a point with it, because it's not the point that we have a masterpiece. And again, the point is in the process and how our brain develops when we're doing that stuff. And what worries me the most is not that there's so much screen, but that there is so much emphasis on STEM, which is great, but now everything on arts is lost. So now, like, any art education is by choice, if you really want it, or it's like 1 hour a week, or nowadays it's like history of art, instead of making art.
Yeah.
So we are losing our ability with our hands.
Yeah, there's literally research saying that we are not, more and more dementia is coming, actually, and Alzheimer's disease is coming because we are not doing our hands. The best thing you can do, for example, when you go into your pension is start learning piano or an instrument to get this mobility in our hands that actually we've completely lost as a generation because we're on our thumbs or maybe on a keyboard, but it's not a tactile sport.
Yeah.
So it's going to be scary.
I wish there was a balance, you know, because I mean, if you look at the scientists, like everybody says this, but it's true. Einstein played violin.
Yeah.
You know, for this, even in science, you need creativity.
Yeah.
You know, so just to bring this back a bit, you know, so we can use both parts, not to be professional artists. That's not the point.
Yeah, use both
But
sides of
I
the
mean,
brain.
if we have, you know, cave pictures, that means that human beings had the need to express themselves through art since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And now we're pretending like it's not part of who we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, children always have this need to, you know, put the food all over the table to create something.
Yeah.
And we're taking it away.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that's gonna, you know, what that's gonna bring us as a species, but we'll see. But I hope we'll find the balance between the two.
Apart from the performances that you do, are you hoping in the future or to develop kind of larger programs in education and art for young people? Because I think it's actually something that's missing not only here in Croatia, but worldwide. The arts are, exactly as you said, they're kind of being forgotten.
Yeah.
And do you hope to build a program where people can kind of do that, or just kind of individual shows?
No, yeah, I hope, you know, one day I'm dreaming of my own academy. And I'm just approaching teaching arts in a different way. I said we don't teach arts, we train them.
Yeah.
We're coaches, or, you know, teachers of arts are not teachers, they're coaches. But I just, for now, my goal is just to incite more people to have arts in their lives.
Yeah.
To see theater as, you know, a part of, not a luxury, especially for children, you know. So just to incite them to discover the world again and to have that curiosity again, and to play. I love when, you know, parents send me pictures of after the show they go home and then they create their own shows.
Yeah.
Or I had during COVID we had online shows. I mean, we had no choice, and then a boy basically copied our whole show and did it for his kindergarten friends, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing in the world because I can't go to the kindergarten, but you can, and you did this, and that was so incredible to me. So just inciting people to be connected to arts, that's right now what I'm planning to do, and then in the future, I see myself as an advocate and as a coach.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, I think also just the fact that it's very rare that somebody would watch a video on TikTok and then go, I mean, maybe they would copy a dance or something, but you know, how many times do you have to process that video and that song to go and repeat it versus he saw your show once and reconstructed it. That's how much it affected him and how much he loved it. Yeah,
I mean, there are so many stories. Like we have in this show, the story of a cloud, and the cloud is like a piece of cotton. And then this boy came 2 weeks later with his mom, and he was like 2 years old, to a different show, and he showed us he had a piece of cotton in his hand that he's been carrying around for 2 weeks. He had his own cloud, he wanted it, and he goes to sleep with it. And you know, there's so many stories, you know, because we learn by modeling, we learn by watching. So in theater you can learn so much, you can discover new worlds and new words, and new and you can see your parents from a different perspective, and parents can see their children from a different perspective. So it's everything, you know. I mean, we had one show where baby made its first steps in the show, and we were like, everybody's like, oh my god. So it's just
incredible.
It's
in a way you're building your own reality in that space. Like I think every space is an opening, you know, to build.
And what's most important is that with video, anyway, the camera for like now, the director decides, or the editor decides what the audience are going to see. Are they going to see you or me? If you're in a theater, you're the one who chooses what you're going to look at.
Exactly.
And you can always look at the other thing. So you're the one choosing and editing, which is so different.
I mean, you can spend when I usually went to watch shows like 50 times just to analyze them, because that's what we did in university. But you could spend the show looking at the roof to see the rebound of the light. And when I watched the dance show 50 times, that's what I did, just to see like the entire, I could watch every single dancer in that show and then see how it affected the room, how the audience members reacted to that. And I think that's like a very analytical process, and who goes and watches the show.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the theater,
Yes.
you know? And then also it's active, because in theater, especially in Mala Scena, we're not like playing Snow White. We never do Snow White, but for instance, we don't do Snow White in like, this is what Snow White looks like.
Yeah.
You have maybe an outline or a shadow, and then the audience member can make their own pictures in their head, and they're active participants, and then they can share it with their parents. So everybody's in it together. It's not just like watching a movie where everything is very clear.
Yeah.
You know, again, we can talk about it later, but this is, you know, everybody has an active imagination in the process, and that's why I say, you know, that's why I'm gatekeeping the theater away from all the technology.
I think that's even the way that you're approaching the theater and the shows is a different way than traditional theater. When you have a opera or a ballet, it's set. It's Snow White, you know. It's set, and it's a certain way. And usually, the character who plays Snow White or Cinderella looks like Snow White or
that's
Cinderella.
Museum. That's for me. That's
you
museum. You know,
exactly.
There's one way we do this, and that's how it's done, and that's.
So it's a very, I mean, I would say maybe you're not using technology, but in a way you're using a very incredible research-based, you know, cognitive developmental-based study to project creativity, which I think is incredible, because I don't think that if you would watch a ballet today, you're going to become a more creative person. But going to your show actually could make you a more creative teenager.
Ballet, I adore ballet. I'm obsessed with ballet. And like ballet I think what's important with the traditional arts as well is they give us beauty. And nowadays, everything is just ugly. It is. And even theater wants to reflect and wants to be raw. And sometimes you just need beauty. And, you know, and the ballet is so beautiful. And I just always cry because the human beings are so beautiful. And what you can do with your body is just like amazing. And just to watch that, you know, the harmony of it all in this world that is so disharmonic is just... we need that, you know. So I love ballet.
Well, I think any art, and I think that's what they're trying to do with AI also, is every art is creating a different reality. And when you enter that theater and you enter like a sacred space, and I mean, I'm not, you know, maybe even if you enter the studio or a classroom, it can be any space, honestly, or your bedroom, you know. Each person has their own space in their head that they can kind of, here I can enjoy the beauty of the world, or in nature I can enjoy, you know, the waterfalls coming down and enjoy that reality. And every space is its own reality. So I feel like AI is trying to build this virtual reality where we can kind of close off the ugliness of the world and create a space. But I think we're very far away from this true nature, because it's just like a film. Whatever's there, whatever you put there is there.
Yeah, but for me it's kind of sad. You know, we're trying to make the reality that already exists. You
Yeah.
know, like just go to the mountain. It's there. It's like the waterfall is right there, you know? So that's what I always like. I'm always ambiguous about. But I get it. And it's a miracle to me that it exists. Like the whole tech, like the zeros and the ones create that. Like that's amazing. And humans are amazing to be able to do that. But like, there's a waterfall right there. Just go
That's
there.
definitely the contrast of like, why was this even created? And it's because maybe life was like too depressing at some point that somebody created that. So it's very interesting. But I would definitely like keen towards creating real connections in space like you have made in the theater. So that's really cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was so great to hear about what you're doing.
Thank you for inviting me.
You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you.